At this very moment, I sat in a carriage 100 miles from the prince's manor, clutching the certificate of marital dissolution, bearing the manor's official seal, a sardonic smile playing at the corners of my lips. 3 days prior, Murongyi had announced before the entire household staff, "If you won't accept my taking an equal wife, then prepare yourself for a letter of divorce." Thank you for watching this video. Here is Star-Crossed Love Story. I'm Maggie Liu. Let's dive into today's story. He'd expected tears and tantrums, expected me to fall to my knees and beg for mercy like other women might. What he didn't know was that I'd been waiting for precisely those words. "My lady, are we truly not returning?" Nanny asked, her eyes red-rimmed. "The prince, he called you. I am no longer any sort of princess consort." I cut her off. Nanny dabbed at her tears, prattling on about these past 3 years. How I'd managed the manor, cared for his lordship, treated the servants with such generosity. What she didn't know was just how stifled I'd felt throughout it all. Murongyi, Prince of Jembe, the great Yong dynasty's most decorated general, and my husband in name only 3 years ago, the emperor decreed our marriage. I, daughter of the Minister of Revenue, entered the prince's manor expecting to earn some measure of genuine affection. Instead, on our wedding night, he didn't even enter the bridal chamber, merely tossing out coldly, "This marriage is by imperial command. We each take what we need from it. Don't harbor any foolish notions." I'd thought then that he simply resented being forced into marriage, that things would gradually improve. But 3 years passed and he never showed me a shred of warmth. All matters within and without the manor fell squarely on my shoulders. He led troops in battle whilst I managed the household, keeping everything in perfect order. I even personally reviewed the manor's account, saving him goodness knows how much in expenses. And him, upon returning to the manor, he'd either head to the military camp or to his villa outside the city, never once spending the night in the main courtyard. I'd assumed he was simply occupied with official duties. Until a fortnight ago, when I discovered that woman's existence, Suwana, a songstress from a pleasure house, kept by Murongyi in a golden cage at his villa outside the city. I could have pretended ignorance. After all, men taking multiple wives and concubines was perfectly ordinary, but Murongyi wasn't satisfied with that. He actually wanted to bring that woman into the manor to grant her the status of equal wife, placing her on par with me. "As princess consort, you ought to be magnanimous." He'd said that day, his tone dripping with entitlement. "Wana is gentle and considerate, quite unlike you. If you are sensible, you'll agree to this arrangement, and I'll ensure your position as princess consort remains secure." I asked him, "Does your lordship still remember who took that assassin's blade for you all those years ago?" He paused, then frowned. "That was your duty. You are the princess consort." I asked again, "Does your lordship recall who sold her dowry last year to raise funds when disaster struck the Northern Territories?" He replied impatiently, "I never asked you to do any of that." I laughed until tears nearly fell. Indeed, his lordship had never asked me to do anything, yet all I'd done counted for less in his eyes than a pleasure house woman. "Stop being unreasonable," he said, sweeping his sleeves as he departed. "If you maintain this attitude in 3 days' time, then await your letter of divorce." I didn't wait for a letter of divorce. Instead, I summoned my trusted confidants that very night. These 3 years hadn't been spent idly in the prince's manor. I knew the accounts inside and out, which silver came from public funds, which came from the Shen family's support. I had ledgers recording everything. Then there was my dowry from my natal family, and those valuable items ostensibly belonging to the manor. More than half were actually Shen family property. This included the rosewood furniture set in the main courtyard, the finest cloud brocade in the storerooms, even the precious plants in the garden. I'd personally had them transported from Jungnan. Since Murongyi showed no righteousness, he could hardly blame me for showing no loyalty. I spent 2 days cataloguing everything belonging to the Shen family. On the morning of the 3rd day, whilst Murongyi attended court, I had everything removed from the manor piece by piece. When the steward came to intervene, I merely said mildly, "These are all part of my dowry. What is improper about my taking them?" He had no response, According to great Yonglor, dowries indeed belonged to the woman, and even husbands had no right to them. When Murongyi returned from court to find the vast manor stripped nearly bare with only some shabby tables and chairs remaining, he was utterly dumbstruck. "Shen Yunsheng," he roared throughout the manor. What audacity! But I was no longer there. I'd left him only a certificate of marital dissolution, stating clearly, Prince of Jembe Murongyi desires to take a pleasure house woman as equal wife. Princess consort Shen Yunsheng, unwilling to suffer such humiliation, hereby requests dissolution of marriage. Henceforth we owe each other nothing, each to our own fate. The dissolution certificate bore the prince's manor seal. I'd had my personal nanny obtain it whilst Murongyi was unaware, witnessed by the steward and several senior household members. This certificate possessed complete legal validity. Murongyi couldn't reverse it even if he wished to. The carriage swayed gently as I reclined against the cushions, eyes closed. "Miss, where exactly are we bound?" Nanny asked cautiously. "To the Shen residence," I opened my eyes. "To where I truly belong." The Shen residence occupied extensive grounds in the eastern market district of the capital. My father, Shen Huaijin, served as Minister of Revenue, overseeing the realm's finances. Mother came from an aristocratic family. Her natal family were Zhongnan's foremost merchants, wealthy beyond measure. I was the Shen family's legitimate daughter, with two elder brothers, one serving in the Hanlin Academy, the other in the Ministry of War. 3 generations of Shens had engaged in commerce and governance. Our foundations deep, though we'd always conducted ourselves discreetly. Outsiders knew our family was well off, but not the specific. My ability to strip the prince's manor so efficiently owed much to eldest brother Shen Jiaheng's advance arrangements. "Yunsheng, you've suffered so," father said upon seeing me, his eyes reddening. "It is this father's fault for being muddled back then. Marrying you to that ungrateful wretch, father, your daughter hasn't suffered," I said with a smile. "Your daughter is free now, isn't that a good thing?" Mother embraced me, tears falling. "My child, you've finally seen sense. That Murong fellow doesn't recognize quality, we shan't waste another moment on him." Second brother Shen Jiyuan stamped his feet in fury. "Elder sister, just say the word and I'll take men to break that Murongyi bastard's legs." "No need," I patted his hand. "There are plenty of ways to deal with Murongyi." Eldest brother Shen Jiaheng, ever composed, waved second brother back, then said to me, "Little sister, have you a plan?" "Naturally." I withdrew a ledger from my sleeve. "These are the manor's accounts from the past 3 years. Elder brother, please examine them." Shen Jiaheng accepted the ledger, growing increasingly alarmed as he read. "Good heavens, this Murongyi, he has actually been embezzling military funds." Precisely. This was my greatest discovery over 3 years. Murongyi presented himself as the incorruptible Prince of Jembe, yet secretly he'd embezzled considerable military funds. Most of this silver went towards maintaining private troops, with a portion lavished on that Suwana woman. That villa outside the city, the renovations alone cost 30,000 taels of silver. And the clothes Suwana wore, the things she used, weren't they all priceless? Where did this money come from? All skimmed from military funds. "Little sister, how do you wish to proceed?" eldest brother asked. "Keep it for now," I said with a cold smile. "Since Murongyi wants to divorce me, he'll have to pay a price." "These ledgers are my leverage." Father nodded. "Yunsheng speaks wisely. However, we must guard against Murongyi acting rashly in his humiliation." "Father needn't worry, your daughter has made proper arrangements." I sipped my tea. "A copy of these ledgers has already been delivered to Lord Zhang at the censorate. Should Murongyi dare move against the Shen family, this evidence will immediately reach His Majesty." The family relaxed upon hearing this. Just then, urgent footsteps sounded outside. "Master, disaster," the steward rushed in frantically. "The Prince of Jembe has brought men to our gates, demanding to see the young miss." "How prompt of him." I smoothed my robe, saying coolly, "Show him in." Yunsheng, father looked at me with concern. "Father, don't fret. Your daughter knows what she is about." Murongyi strode in, several guards following. Clad in black brocade robes with striking brows and eyes, he was indeed a handsome man. Pity that however fine his face, it couldn't disguise his fickle heart. Shen Yunsheng, what audacity! His opening salvo was accusatory, stripping the manor without authorization, writing a dissolution certificate on your own. Do you know what crime this constitutes? I sat composed in my chair, not even glancing his way. Your lordship. Oh no, I should say General Morong now. You and I are already dissolved. You're barging into the Shen residence like this. That is what is improper. I never signed that dissolution certificate. It is invalid. Morong Yi raged. General Morong seems to have forgotten. Eldest brother Shen Jaiheng rose, saying coldly, that dissolution certificate bears the prince's manor seal and was witnessed by the steward and others. According to Great Yong law, it is already in effect. If General Morong disputes this, he is welcome to take the Shen family to the Court of Judicial Review. Morongye's expression shifted. He naturally didn't dare go to the Court of Judicial Review. Once matters reached there, his embezzlement of military funds couldn't remain hidden. Shen Yunsheng, what exactly do you want? He asked through gritted teeth. Only then did I raise my head, meeting his furious gaze. I want nothing except to live my own life. General Morong, from now on we're quits. You marry your equal wife. I live my life. We don't interfere with each other. Isn't that splendid? Morongyi pointed at me, too angry for words. Oh, one more thing to remind General Morong, I said unhurriedly. Everything I took was part of my dowry. If General Morong doesn't believe me, he is welcome to check the dowry inventory. When I entered the prince's manor, my dowry comprised 128 carrying loads, each item recorded. What I took was neither more nor less. Morongyi's expression grew even uglier. He certainly remembered when I'd married in. My dowry had been so lavish that even the palace spoke of it admiringly. Now I'd removed it all, leaving the manor truly just an empty shell. As for the manor's other expenses, those are your lordship's own concern, I continued. These 3 years I managed the household affairs for you without taking a penny. I've already done more than enough, now that we're dissolved. The prince's manor's affairs have nothing more to do with me, Shen Yunsheng. Excellent, truly excellent. Morongyi laughed bitterly in his rage. Shen Yunsheng, don't think I don't know what you are scheming. Just you wait, one day you'll regret this. With that, he swept his sleeves and departed. Only after he'd gone did Mother breathe a sigh of relief. That Morongyi, how utterly unreasonable, Mother, your daughter is fine. I smiled reassuringly. He is simply in a temper now. He'll calm down in a few days. But I knew in my heart that Morongyi wouldn't let this rest so easily, no matter. I'd be waiting for his next move. Over the following days, news of my dissolution from Morongyi spread throughout the capital like wildfire. Some said I was jealous and wouldn't allow his lordship to take concubines, so he divorced me in fury. Others claimed I'd stripped the manor without permission, and his lordship couldn't tolerate it any longer. Still others said I was promiscuous, had taken a lover outside, and thus initiated the dissolution myself. All manner of vicious gossip reached my ears, yet I merely smiled it off. Miss, those people outside speak so cruelly, my maid Chunyu said indignantly. This servant truly wants to tear their mouths apart. Let them talk. I was tending to flowers in the courtyard. Before long they'll know the truth. Indeed, 3 days later matters took a turn that morning at court. Lord Zhang from the censorate suddenly submitted a memorial impeaching Prince of Jembe Morongyi for embezzling military funds and maintaining private soldiers. The court erupted in uproar. His Majesty flew into a rage, immediately ordering a thorough investigation. Morongyi knelt in the golden throne hall, his face deathly pale. He'd never imagined this matter would surface at such a time. Morongyi, what have you to say? His Majesty's voice was cold as ice. Your subject is wronged, Morongyi kowtowed frantically. Your subject's loyalty to Great Yong is unwavering. How could I commit such acts? Someone must be framing me, framing you. Lord Zhang sneered. These are the Prince of Jembe's manor accounts from the past 3 years, clearly recording every transaction. If your lordship claims to be wronged, then please explain where all this silver went. Morongyi took the ledger, his pupils contracting sharply. These were indeed the manor's accounts, recording in detail even how much silver he'd spent buying jewelry for Suwana. And these accounts had always been managed by Shen Yunsheng. He seethed inwardly, but it was too late for anything he might say now. His Majesty had already ordered the Court of Judicial Review and Ministry of Justice to jointly investigate the matter thoroughly. That evening, as I sat reading in my chambers, eldest brother came with news. Little sister Morongyi has been stripped of office pending investigation by His Majesty. The title of Prince of Genbei has also been revoked. As expected, I said mildly. Embezzling military funds. His Majesty cannot tolerate such things. However, Morongyi insists you framed him. Many people in the capital are now spreading gossip about you, eldest brother said with some concern. Brother needn't worry. This gossip won't last long. I closed my book. Very soon, people will come forward to speak on my behalf. True enough, the very next day, several officials who'd been on good terms with Morongyi submitted memorials testifying on my behalf. It transpired that during these 3 years, though I'd suffered every slight at the manor, I'd never been stingy towards the manor's soldiers. Whenever soldiers were injured, I'd personally send medicine and provisions when disaster struck the northern territories. The relief funds I'd raised by selling my dowry had indeed all gone to disaster relief. Not a penny entering Morongyi's private coffers. Those soldiers who'd received my kindness came forward one after another, saying I was a good-hearted person who could never frame Morongyi. Morongyi, on the other hand, whilst appearing considerate of his soldiers on the surface, had secretly been skimming their pay, leaving many unable even to feed themselves adequately. Others dug up the matter of Morongyi keeping his golden canary outside the city, saying he'd spent untold amounts of silver maintaining that pleasure house woman Suwana. Where had all this money come from? Wasn't it all embezzled military funds? Public opinion reversed in an instant. Everyone began sympathizing with me and condemning Morongyi. So it was the Prince of Genbei who wronged the princess consort. The princess consort is such a fine person. Yet he wanted to divorce her for a pleasure house woman. He must be blind. If you ask me, the princess consort showed foresight in dissolving the marriage early. That was the wise move. When this gossip reached Morongyi's ears, he ground his teeth in hatred, yet was powerless to act. The Court of Judicial Review and Ministry of Justice investigated jointly for a fortnight, finally establishing Morongyi's crimes, embezzling 500,000 taels in military funds, maintaining 300 private soldiers, plus charges of withholding soldiers' monthly stipends and misappropriating military resources. His Majesty was furious, issuing an edict stripping Morongyi of all offices and titles, exiling him to the frontier to serve a 3-year sentence. On the day the edict was proclaimed, Morongyi knelt before the Shen residence gates wanting to see me one last time. Shen Yunsheng, come out. He knelt on the ground, his voice hoarse. You could have chosen not to do this. Why did you have to destroy me? I stood inside the residence gate, separated from him by a threshold, watching him. This man had once been so spirited and proud, yet now he was utterly wretched. But my heart held not a shred of pity, only endless indifference. Morongyi, you are mistaken, I said coolly. I didn't destroy you. You destroyed yourself. If you'd treated me even slightly better from the start, I would have willingly managed the manor for you, helped conceal those matters. If you hadn't insisted on taking that woman as an equal wife, I wouldn't have turned against you. But what did you do? You took my devotion for granted, mistook my forbearance for weakness. You thought that by divorcing me, I'd meekly leave and keep silent about your affairs forever. I laughed coldly. Morongyi, you vastly underestimated me, Shen Yunsheng. My 3 years at the prince's manor weren't wasted. I remember every single one of your transactions clearly, know every one of your secrets intimately. The only reason I endured all along was because I still harbored a sliver of hope that you might eventually have a change of heart. But when you personally said you'd divorce me, that you'd make that woman my equal in that moment, I understood. You would never cherish me. That being so, why should I continue keeping your secrets? Morongyi's face turned deathly pale. I was wrong, Yunsheng. It was all my fault. He suddenly began kowtowing. I shouldn't have treated you that way, shouldn't have failed you. I beg you, for the sake of our 3 years as husband and wife, speak a word on my behalf to His Majesty. I don't want to go to the frontier. I don't want. Too late. I cut him off. Morongyi, I gave you chances. You didn't treasure them. You can't blame me. As for that Suwana of yours, I hear she absconded yesterday with all the gold and silver trinkets you gave her. She is far cleverer than you, knowing your fortunes had turned and that staying with you would only bring misfortune. Murongi's eyes widened in disbelief. Impossible. Wana wouldn't do that to me, she wouldn't. I smiled mockingly. Murongi, did you truly believe a pleasure house woman would give you her genuine heart? All she wanted was money and status. Now that you have nothing, naturally she must seek other prospects. Yet here I am, the wife you scorned, still willing to see you one last time in your downfall. Tell me who truly cared for you. Murongi's entire body trembled, as though all strength had been drained from him, collapsing to the ground in defeat. Yunsheng, I was wrong. It was all my fault. I turned and left, not sparing him another glance. Behind me came his desperate wails, but my heart remained unmoved. This man wasn't worth a single tear. 3 days after Murongi's exile to the frontier, His Majesty summoned me to the palace. I was somewhat surprised, uncertain why His Majesty wished to see me. Lady Shen received the edict, came the eunuch's shrill voice. I knelt to hear the decree. By the mandate of heaven, the Emperor decrees. Lady Shen is virtuous and accomplished. During her 3 years at the Prince of Jembei's manor, she managed household affairs with exemplary order. When disaster struck the Northern Territories, she generously donated funds to provide relief. Her merit immeasurable. She is hereby granted the title of first-rank imperial consort, bestowed with 1,000 taels of gold and 100 mu of fertile land, so decreed. I was momentarily stunned, then expressed gratitude and accepted the edict. I hadn't expected His Majesty not only to refrain from blame, but to grant such rewards. Lady Shen, please rise, came His Majesty's gentle voice. I raised my head to see His Majesty regarding me with a smile. Lady Shen need not be so formal, His Majesty said. You suffered considerable grievances during your 3 years at the manor. That Morongi fellow didn't recognize quality. The fault is his. Your Majesty, this subject dares not. I know of everything you did, His Majesty sighed. During the Northern disaster relief, had you not raised funds so promptly, countless people might have starved. And those soldiers at the manor, had you not secretly provided for them, their circumstances would have been dire indeed. These were merely this subject's duties. Good child, His Majesty nodded. I know you are capable. These rewards serve firstly to commend your achievements, and secondly to silence the gossip-mongers. My heart warmed. I hadn't expected His Majesty to be so considerate. There is another matter I wish to ask your thoughts on. His Majesty suddenly changed tack. How old are you this year? Your Majesty, this subject is 22. The prime of life, His Majesty mused. You and Murongi are now dissolved, and you are once again unattached. I am considering arranging another marriage for you. What say you? My heart leapt, and I quickly said, Your Majesty, this subject has no wish to remarry at present. Why not? This subject wishes to remain with her parents to fulfill her filial duties, and has no desire to consider marriage for the time being, I said earnestly. His Majesty studied me for a moment, then finally nodded. Very well, I was perhaps too hasty. If you are unwilling, I shan't force you. However, should you change your mind in future, do inform me. This subject is grateful for your Majesty's understanding. Leaving the palace, I exhaled deeply. His Majesty's summons had not only brought rewards, but also cleared my name. From now on, no one would dare speak ill of me. Returning to the Shen residence, Mother was so overjoyed she wept. My child, you've finally emerged from the shadows. She embraced me. That Morongi was blind. Losing you is his loss. Father was equally pleased. Yunsheng, you've done admirably. His Majesty's rewards are recognition of your years of dedication. Eldest brother said with a smile, Little sister, I hear several families came to propose marriage today. Marriage proposals. I frowned. Who were they? The Vice Minister of War's son, a junior compiler from the Hanlin Academy, and the legitimate son of a Ministry of Revenue official. Eldest brother counted on his fingers. All respectable families. Decline them all, I said decisively. I've no wish to marry at present. Why not? Second brother leaned in. Surely you are not still thinking of that bastard Morongi? Think of him, I scoffed. I'd sooner never lay eyes on him again. I simply believe a woman needn't necessarily marry to live well. Then what do you intend? Mother asked with concern. Mother, have you forgotten our maternal grandfather's enterprises? I smiled. The shops and estates grandfather left me are all under my name now. I can live perfectly well on those. Why must I marry and suffer again? Mother paused, then smiled. Indeed, how did I forget? What your grandfather left you is more than enough to keep you comfortable for life. Not only that, I withdrew a document from my sleeve. I intend to properly develop these enterprises. Mother, look, this is my business plan. Mother took it and read, her eyes growing brighter. My plan was straightforward. Utilize the Shen family and maternal grandfather's resources to establish a trading house in the capital, dealing in goods from north and south, simultaneously open branches in Jiangnan, Lingnan, and elsewhere, expanding the business substantially. Excellent. Mother slapped the table in approval. Worthy of being my daughter, such boldness. Father nodded approvingly as well. Yinsheng, this is a sound idea. However, business is no trifling matter. You must think it through carefully. Father needn't worry. Your daughter knows what she is about, I said confidently. Though your daughter suffered grievances at the manor these 3 years, she also learned a great deal, managing a manor and managing a trading house. The principles are the same. Eldest brother also supported me. Since little sister has this ambition, why not give it a try? Our Shen family isn't short of silver. Even if there are losses, it is no matter. And so I embarked on my own enterprise. My first trading house opened in the capital's most prosperous eastern market, named Yunsheng Trading House. The establishment primarily dealt in Jiangnan silks and teas, Lingnan spices and jewelry, plus northern furs and medicinal herbs. These were all sought-after goods, certain to sell. On opening day, I personally stood at the entrance welcoming customers. Many were astonished that a first-rank imperial consort would actually engage in commerce herself. Lady Shen, this is... An acquaintance couldn't help asking. What? Women aren't permitted to do business? I countered with a smile. The person was left speechless. Indeed, in the Great Yong dynasty, whilst female merchants were rare, they weren't illegal, especially now that I was a first-rank imperial consort with His Majesty's approval. Who dared criticize business on opening day was remarkably brisk. The Jiangnan silks I'd prepared were of superior quality and fairly priced, selling out rapidly. The spices and jewelry were equally popular, with numerous noble ladies and young misses coming specifically to purchase. Lady Shen, these silks are truly exquisite. One noble woman praised effusively. Even finer than what is used in the palace. I am delighted you are pleased, madam, I said with a smile. When the next shipment arrives, I'll certainly set some aside for you. Thus Yunsheng Trading House's reputation spread quickly. Within a month, I'd opened 3 branches in the capital, each dealing in different goods without competition, all doing excellent business simultaneously. I began establishing operations in Jiangnan, Lingnan, and beyond. I sent eldest brother to Jiangnan to negotiate with merchants there, securing long-term supply agreements. I dispatched second brother to Lingnan to establish channels for spices and jewelry. In just 3 months, Yunsheng Trading House had become one of the capital's most renowned establishments, and I had transformed from a cast-off wife into a universally praised businesswoman. Lady Shen is truly remarkable. Who says women are inferior to men? Lady Shen is living proof. I hear Yunsheng Trading House earns over 10,000 taels monthly, truly impressive. These words of praise reached my ears, but I merely smiled faintly. I wasn't doing this to prove anything to anyone. I simply wanted to live more brilliantly. Just then, I received a letter. It was from Murongyi at the frontier. I opened the envelope to find only a few brief lines. Yunsheng. Life at the frontier is harsh. I must perform hard labor daily, never eating my fill or staying warm. Only now do I understand how foolish I was to have wronged you for a pleasure house woman. Yunsheng, can you forgive me? I know I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. When I've served my sentence, I will certainly come find you. I beg you, give me one more chance. I finished reading and laughed coldly, tossing the letter into the brazier. 6 months later, Yunsheng Trading House had spread across more than a dozen prefectures throughout the Great Yong dynasty, becoming a veritable commercial empire. My wealth had grown increasingly vast, even surpassing many aristocratic families. His Majesty, hearing of my achievements, specially summoned me. "Lady Shen, you've truly brought glory to me," His Majesty said with a smile. "I never imagined you could not only manage a household but also conduct business." "Your Majesty flatters me. This subject has merely been fortunate." "This isn't fortune," His Majesty shook his head. "I've heard from the Ministry of Revenue that your trading house is managed with impeccable order, accounts crystal clear, superior to many court officials." I smiled modestly. "Lady Shen, I have a proposal. I wonder if you'd be willing," His Majesty suddenly said. "Your Majesty, please speak." "I'd like you to serve as commercial advisor to the Ministry of Revenue, specifically responsible for coordinating communications with merchants across the realm," His Majesty said. "This way, the court's tax revenues could increase and the people's livelihoods improve. What say you?" I was momentarily stunned, not expecting His Majesty to make such a request. "Your Majesty, this subject fears she cannot fulfill such duties," I said. "Why not? This subject is merely a merchant unfamiliar with court affairs," I said earnestly. "Moreover, this subject is a woman. I fear it would invite criticism." "Criticism?" His Majesty laughed coldly. "Who dares criticize? If I say you can do it, you can do it. As for court affairs, you can learn gradually. I have faith in your abilities." Since His Majesty put it thus, I could hardly continue refusing, and could only accept, and so I became the Great Yong dynasty's first female commercial advisor. As expected, once this news spread, the court erupted. Some supported it, saying I was capable and should serve the court. Others opposed it, claiming women shouldn't participate in governance, that this violated ancestral customs. The debate raged for days until His Majesty settled it with finality, stating I was merely an advisor, not an official, thus not violating ancestral customs. Only then did the opposing voices gradually subside. After officially assuming my position, I discovered the Ministry of Revenue indeed had numerous problems. Many officials didn't understand commerce, resulting in very strained relations between the court and merchants. The tax system was also chaotic. Some regions taxed too heavily, forcing merchants to evade taxes. Other regions taxed too lightly, causing the court to lose considerable revenue. I spent a month visiting the capital's major trading houses, understanding their difficulties and needs, then traveled to several prefectures, personally investigating local commercial conditions. Finally, I drafted a reform proposal and submitted it to His Majesty. The core content was simple: reduce tax rates, simplify procedures, encourage commercial development. Reduce tax rates, the Minister of Revenue, my father, frowned upon seeing the proposal. "Yunsheng, wouldn't this decrease the court's tax revenue?" "Father, you are only seeing the immediate reduction in revenue, not the long-term benefits," I explained. "Current rates are too high. Many merchants are unwilling to do business, or they evade taxes. If we reduce rates, merchants' enthusiasm will increase. More people will engage in commerce. Though individual tax amounts decrease, overall revenue will actually increase." Father considered this, then nodded. "You make a valid point." His Majesty was equally approving after reviewing the proposal. "Excellent." He struck the table in approval. "Lady Shen truly has vision. I shall implement your proposal." The new tax policy was swiftly enacted. True enough, within 3 months, not only had court revenues not decreased, they'd actually increased by 30%. Commerce across the realm began flourishing, and people's livelihoods showed marked improvement. His Majesty was delighted, bestowing numerous additional rewards upon me. My reputation grew ever greater, gaining standing not only in commercial circles but within the court as well. Just as my career reached its zenith, Murongyi completed his sentence and returned. He'd grown much thinner, his face weathered and worn, no longer bearing any trace of his former vigor. His first action was to seek me out, kneeling before the Shen residence gates, requesting an audience. "Yunsheng, I know I was wrong. Please forgive me." He knelt on the ground, tears streaming down his face. "These 3 years at the frontier, I've suffered terribly thinking of you every single day. Only now do I understand. In this world, you were the only one who truly cared for me. Yunsheng, I beg you, give me one more chance. I promise I'll treat you properly this time. I stood inside the residence gates regarding him coldly. Murongyi, what are you doing back here? I've come back for you, he raised his head, eyes full of expectation. Yunsheng, let's start afresh, shall we? I swear this time I'll cherish you. Start afresh? I laughed mockingly. Murongyi, do you think this is some theatrical performance? Part ways when you please, reunite when you fancy. I know I wronged you, but Yunsheng, I truly know I was wrong now, he pleaded. Just take pity on me. I have nothing left now. Only you, silence. I snapped coldly. Murongyi, listen carefully. The greatest regret of my life, Shen Yunsheng, was marrying you. When you wanted to divorce me, I'd already begun treating you as a stranger. Now you return begging my forgiveness. Too late. I'll never give you another chance. Yunsheng, Murongyi tried to continue. And stop coming to the Shen residence. I cut him off. If you persist in this harassment, don't blame me for being ruthless. With that, I turned and left, leaving Murongyi kneeling at the gates. He knelt there for an entire day and night, only being persuaded to leave the following morning. From then on, Murongyi came every few days, each time kneeling at the gates begging to see me. I never once received him. On one occasion, he even knelt until he collapsed, having to be carried away to a medical hall. When news of these incidents reached my ears, my heart remained unmoved. Miss, if Murongyi continues like this, something dreadful might happen, Chunyu said worriedly. His affairs are no concern of mine, I said coolly. But there are no buts. I set down the ledger in my hands. Chunyu, remember this, for those who've hurt you, no matter how they beg. Never soften, because once you do, you'll be the one who suffers. Chunyu nodded, half understanding. Another fortnight passed, and Murongyi finally stopped coming. I assumed he'd given up, never imagining he'd actually petition His Majesty, requesting an imperial decree forcing me to remarry him. His Majesty, upon hearing this, flew into a towering rage. Murongyi, what audacity, His Majesty thundered. It was you who wanted to divorce Lady Shen initially, and now it is you wanting her back. What do you take Lady Shen for? Your Majesty, this subject knows his wrongs. Truly knows his wrongs, Murongyi kowtowed desperately. I beseech your Majesty's grace allow this subject and Yunsheng to reconcile. Outrageous. His Majesty struck the dragon throne. Lady Shen is now a first-rank imperial consort, my commercial advisor. Is she someone you can marry simply because you wish it? Guards, drag Murongyi out and give him 30 strokes of the heavy rod as a warning to others. Murongyi was dragged out and beaten 30 times, nearly losing his life. When this news reached me, I merely smiled faintly. Serves him right. A year later, Yunsheng Trading House had become the Great Yong dynasty's largest commercial enterprise, and my wealth rivaled that of nations. His Majesty, seeing I remained unmarried, grew somewhat concerned. Lady Shen, you are 24 this year. You can't remain unmarried forever, surely, His Majesty said. Your Majesty, this subject is living very well now and has no desire to marry, I replied with a smile. But you must consider the future, His Majesty sighed. When you are old, if there is no one by your side to care for you, what then? Your Majesty needn't worry. This subject has already made plans, I said. This subject intends to adopt several daughters who will care for me in future. His Majesty paused, then smiled. Very well, if you've thought it through, that is good. However, should you meet someone who captures your heart in future, don't let the opportunity pass. This subject will remember. In truth, I knew in my heart that I'd likely never remarry. Having experienced that marriage with Murongyi, I'd become thoroughly disillusioned with men. Rather than marry again and suffer anew, better to live freely on my own. Just then, word came from the palace that the Empress Dowager had fallen gravely ill and wished to see me. I was somewhat surprised, uncertain why the Empress Dowager would want to see me. Upon entering the palace, I was led to the Palace of Compassion and Tranquility. The Empress Dowager lay in bed, her face deathly pale, clearly with little time remaining. Lady Shen has arrived, the Empress Dowager said weakly. Your Imperial Majesty. I stepped forward and paid my respects. No need for formalities. The Empress Dowager waved her hand. This old woman summoned you today because there is a matter I wish to entrust to you. Your Imperial Majesty, please speak. This old woman has a granddaughter, 18 this year, not yet betrothed, the Empress Dowager said. I wish to entrust her to you, to have her learn some skills from you. Would you be willing? I was momentarily taken aback, not expecting the Empress Dowager to make such a request. Your Imperial Majesty, this subject fears she cannot fulfill such duties. You can, the Empress Dowager grasped my hand. This old woman is an excellent judge of character. You are a capable young woman, my granddaughter will surely learn much from you. Since the Empress Dowager put it thus, I could hardly refuse and could only accept. Several days later, the Empress Dowager's granddaughter, Murong Qingyao, arrived at the Shen residence. Indeed, she was Murongyi's younger sister. Murong Qingyao was quite pretty, with a gentle disposition completely unlike Murongyi. Elder sister Shen, I hope you'll guide me well from now on, she said sweetly. No need to be so formal, I said with a smile. Since the Empress Dowager has entrusted you to me, I'll teach you properly. Thus Murong Qingyao moved into the Shen residence and began learning commerce from me. She was clever and diligent, learning quickly, and within 6 months could already handle matters independently. One day, Murong Qingyao suddenly asked me, Elder sister Shen, do you hate my brother? I paused, then said mildly, not anymore. Truly not. Murong Qingyao didn't believe me. Hating someone unworthy is merely wasting one's own time, I said. Rather than hate him, better to make myself live better. Murong Qingyao nodded thoughtfully. Elder sister Shen, actually my brother, She hesitated. You needn't speak on his behalf, I interrupted her. You are you. He is he. I won't hold any prejudice against you because of him. Murong Qingyao looked at me gratefully, her eyes reddening. Elder sister Shen, you are truly kind. I smiled without speaking. Another year passed and Murongyi's health deteriorated further. I heard he'd been despondent these past years, drowning his sorrows in drink daily, ruining his body completely. Murong Qingyao came to plead with me, hoping I might visit him once. Elder sister Shen, my brother truly knows he was wrong, Murong Qingyao said tearfully. The physician says he likely won't survive this winter. His only wish now is to see you one more time. I remained silent for a long while, finally nodding, very well, I'll go see him. Murongyi lived in a dilapidated small courtyard on the capital's outskirts. The yard was overgrown with weeds, the house a complete shambles. He lay in bed emaciated to mere skin and bones, bearing no resemblance whatsoever to the Prince of Zhenbei of years past. Yunsheng, you've come, he said upon seeing me, a glimmer of light in his eyes. Murongyi, what did you want to see me about? I sat by the bed, my tone flat. I just wanted to see you once more, he said weakly. Yunsheng, these years I've regretted every single day. If time could turn back, I would never treat you that way. Pity there are no ifs, I said. Indeed, there are no ifs. He smiled bitterly. Yunsheng, you are living so well now. I am truly happy for you. Though I couldn't give you happiness, seeing you so accomplished now, I can at least lay one matter to rest. I said nothing. Yunsheng, can you forgive me? He suddenly asked. I looked at him, silent for a very long time, finally saying, I forgive you. Murongyi froze, then tears streamed down his face. Thank you, Yunsheng. He choked out. Having your forgiveness, I can die without regrets. But you must understand, forgiveness doesn't mean we can return to how things were. I stood up. Murongyi, I forgive you to release myself. I don't want to be bound by the past any longer. I need to move forward. I understand. I understand everything, he nodded. Yunsheng, you must live well. I turned and left without looking back, stepping out of the small courtyard. I took a deep breath, feeling much lighter inside. Forgiving Murongyi wasn't for his sake, it was for my own. 3 days later, Murongyi passed away. I didn't attend the funeral, merely having someone send funeral offerings. Murong Qingyao wept bitterly. I offered her a few words of comfort. Accept what cannot be changed, I patted her shoulder. The dead cannot return. You must look forward. Elder sister Shen, thank you. Murong Qingyao embraced me. Thank you for being willing to forgive my brother. Silly girl, I sighed. In this life, one must learn to let go. Another 5 years passed. I was now 30 years old. Yongsheng trading house had spread to every prefecture throughout the great Yong dynasty, even expanding into neighboring countries. My wealth truly rivaled nations, and I'd become the great Yong dynasty's wealthiest female merchant. His Majesty had attempted to arrange marriages for me multiple times, all of which I'd politely declined. I'd adopted several daughters, including Murong Qingyao. They were all quite capable, managing Yunsheng trading house ever more successfully. Some asked whether I'd ever regretted my decision back then. I smiled and shook my head. Never had I not chosen dissolution then. I'd likely still be suffering silently at the prince's manor, enduring endless grievances. It was precisely because of my decisiveness then that I'd become who I was now. I lived freely, lived brilliantly, lived the life I wanted. As for Murongi, he'd become the past. I was grateful for his heartlessness back then, which allowed me to see his true nature, grateful too for his cruelty, which made me stronger. Looking back now, that marriage no longer stirred any emotion in me. It was merely an experience in my life, one that taught me to grow. Nothing more. Standing before Yonsheng trading house, watching the constant flow of customers, my heart filled with contentment. This was the life I wanted, dependent on no one, never compromising myself, living only for myself. Shen Yunsheng, 30 years old, first-rank imperial consort, the great Yong dynasty's foremost female merchant. My story was only just beginning. As the sun set, I stood atop a tall building overlooking the entire capital, a smile playing at my lips. That Shen Yunsheng, who'd suffered silently at the prince's manor all those years ago, was dead. The present me was a Shen Yunsheng who lived for herself. And this kind of life, this was truly my own life. If Yunsheng's story speaks to you, do leave a like and share it onwards. After all, we're each the architect of our own fate, any to live in anyone's shadow. Subscribe for more stories of those who lived unapologetically.